Hi, welcome to today's webinar on the topic of workflow and process automation. Thank you for being here. This is covering the pathway for the AI and IM Global Summit. My name is Amy Michalski, and AIM is proud to be hosting the inaugural AI+IM Global Summit in Atlanta, Georgia, March 31st through April 2nd. If you'd like to register or learn more about the event, you're welcome to use the QR code on the screen, and we'll also share details with you via email after the event. The summit is a highly interactive strategy event that explores the intersection of AI and information management. Our goal with today's webinar is to help you prepare for conversations on site in Atlanta by outlining the important role IM plays in workflow and process automation. Today, we'll be sharing an overview of the summit, establishing foundational concepts, and sharing event tips that will position you to get the most out of your experience at the summit. If you're unable to attend the summit, no worries. We hope that you'll gain insight from this event and consider joining us next year. Please add any thoughts or questions to the chat. And then also, if you have specific questions for either Rich or Rand, if you could add those to the Q&A feature, that would be great. This will be a fast-paced 45-minute conversation, but we will try to get as many audience questions as possible. Closed captions are available and can be turned on through your Zoom tool panel. Please note that we are recording the conversation today. A recording of the program will be shared with attendees and available on demand after the event. After the webinar is complete, please take the feedback survey. We truly value your feedback on how we did today. I am joined today by two industry experts, both Rich Medina from Doculabs and Rand Wacker with Box. Rich Medina is a partner and VP of Consulting for Doculabs and a strategist in AI-based process automation and content services. With extensive experience optimizing workflows and reducing costs, he has led numerous projects driving digital transformation for organizations across industries. Thanks for being here, Rich. And then Rand Wacker, you're welcome. And then Rand Wacker is a seasoned enterprise product leader with 20+ years of experience in B2B SaaS, cloud infrastructure, and intelligent content management. As VP of Product Strategy at Box, he drives innovation in AI-powered content automation, enterprise security, and unlocking insights from unstructured data to accelerate business transformation. Before we dive into today's event, we'd like to thank Rand and Box for their sponsorship at the AI+IM Global Summit and today's webinar. Rand, would you tell us a little bit about Box and why Box is supporting the workflow and process automation pathway?
Absolutely, and we're really excited to be here, excited to be with AIM. Thank you all for joining. Looking forward to Atlanta. So many of you may know Box as one of the leaders in content management in the cloud, and we've been many years working on helping companies be more productive, working with teams both inside and outside their organization. And one of the reasons that we think that this is a really unique time is that artificial intelligence is really changing how we can all work with our content. And so we have been spending a lot of time there, investing heavily, and we see that there's a lot of great outcomes that our customers are seeing. So we're excited to talk about those at the conference.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Rand. We appreciate you being here. At this year's summit, we have fully reimagined AIM's annual event to focus on unstructured data management in the AI era. This 2.5-day program features workshops, interactive sessions, thought-provoking keynotes, and networking. This year, we're also debuting peer-to-peer learning with cohorts. Participants will be grouped in industry-specific cohorts led by skilled facilitators. Cohorts will share knowledge and provide peer support. We have designed the summit to provide participants with practical advice and resources to help them improve their organization's information management programs, leverage unstructured data, and improve AI automation, implementations, and adoption. So automation is one of our 4 learning paths throughout the event. And we also have a pathway on AI, intelligent information management, and information governance. and leadership and change management. Each pathway and its educational content are designed to help information leaders navigate unstructured data management in the era of AI. So now we're going to switch to questions. So yeah, so definitely ask those questions throughout in the Q&A, or I'll also be checking chat to check out those questions. And first, we're going to go and start with some of our just introduction overview questions. So Rich, I'm hoping, can you define workflow process automation in the context of information management for us?
Sure. So there's some general terms like workflow and process management, and those are general terms. Most of them, workflow's been around forever. Those are general terms for how organizations structure and coordinate and execute and automate work. Kind of a subspecies of that is process automation. It's where you're focusing on automating the individual tasks and the flow. And that brings me to an ingenious point here. So I hope you're taking notes. That workflow consists of work and flow. And work are the individual steps or tasks or activities, and flow is the orchestration and the movements between the steps. I say that's important because you can get good lift by advancing one or the other, automating the individual tasks or stringing them together like a row of beads and being able to monitor and automate the flow between them and the decisions between them. One more item on that is that there is categorization of the types of workflow. So if you think of your own business processes, workflows and processes range from ad hoc simple routing like with email to collaboration between folks like with Teams or Box, to document workflows, the good old-fashioned ECM, which is managing work that's document heavy, to data workflows, where the information is in databases. Kind of in the late 90s, those combined to become BPM, business process management, along with other capabilities, and that had its time in the sun. And the more recent advance has been case management, where it kind of combines all of them and is able to handle very structured work, but also very collaborative ad hoc work, as you would with in a doctor's office or disaster management or a legal firm. I'll stop there. But we'll...
No, thank you. Is there anything you wanted to add, or we can move on to the next question? And the next question, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I like that Rich clarified at the end that, some of these are ad hoc, some of these are more automated, some of these are highly controlled, because at the end of the day, it's about getting work done together with people. And, sometimes that involves all kinds of different types of tools.
Definitely,
I would add just one more thing, and I apologize. One is two other capabilities that we'll be talking about. One is RPA, and that's task automation, so taking those individual steps and automating them where they're easy to automate. And the other one is intelligent document processing, or IDP, and that's being able to, as documents come in, you classify them, you extract the data from them, you validate that it's complete and correct, and you pass it along to an RPA, a robot, or something else downstream.
No, thank you for that. There's a lot of different types of terms and technologies, and there's sessions on all of this at the event. So we're excited about that. Later on, Rich is going to go into the session specific that you'll be able to go to when you're at the event. So question for Rand, why is unstructured data management crucial for automation, and how does it fuel and support automated processes?
Yeah, there's a huge correlation with the content that we have in these systems and the processes we're trying to go through. And so, all of this content is pretty much unstructured data. We did a survey study recently with one of the leading analyst firms where most companies say that over 90% of their data is unstructured. The PDFs, Word files, spreadsheets, all those kinds of things, stuff that's not in a type of CRM database or something like that. And so, these are the files that we're working with to go through processes for approval, for reviews, for all those different pieces. And one of the things that's really powerful is that, with AI, we have a much better ability to understand and improve working with those files. You can extract metadata automatically. You can summarize documents for reviews. All these different things are possible now with AI, which can really speed things up and help people get their jobs done, faster and more accurately.
Excellent. Anything you want to add, Rich?
No, I think you covered it. That's good.
Wonderful. Well, we have this pathway at the summit dedicated to workflow and process automation because it plays a critical role in the intersection of information management, unstructured data, and AI by streamlining these operations, improving governance, and enhancing decision making. Now we're going to move to some of the foundation questions. There's a big change with how workflow process automation is working with the addition of AI. So Rand, can you help us how has workflow process automation changed with the addition of AI?
I think we're actually pretty early in that process. I think that the AI technologies are evolving very quickly, and people are still learning what to do. But right off the bat, we've seen companies who are able to take AI and automatically pull out, certain pieces of information from a document to really, speed up the process so humans don't have to do that. A great example is legal contracts. Tons of customers are using this to import contracts into their box system, automatically pull out the information of the parties, the value, the renewal date. And that's something that used to have a human that had to do that manually for a long time. Similarly, people in banking and financial services are using this for pulling out information like for loan applications. And, lots of people are submitting lots of different kinds of forms. And what's really unique here is that the AI systems are able to understand those forms without having to be pre-trained, to look for specific boxes in specific places. So it's changed things already, but I think we're really just at the tip of that.
Oh, definitely. And thanks for those examples. And Rich, where have you seen information management enhanced by automation?
Yeah, so a good way to, or at least for me, to explain it and to disentangle what you can do and so on, is that AI helps you, does other things, but helps you collect or get, understand, and do. And so look at your processes, the task or whatever, and Rand mentioned some of them, is where the task is arduous because you've got to collect information from various places. This AI can do that easily. Where it would help you to summarize it or understand it, again, that's what it does. Where it helps you to analyze it or make recommendations, again, it can help. And then do either write something or act, connect with an RPA or something to actually automate the whole process. So that getting and understanding and doing is basically what it does. And if you look at your tasks, almost any process, you can see where that would help you.
Absolutely. Anything to add, Rand?
Yeah, I think those are, very similar to what we're seeing overall. What I'm really excited by as well is in the future, the possibility for AI to, for example, make recommendations as how to move forward. So, if you have a review process that says something like, a contract needs to meet these certain criteria, you can very easily prompt it to compare those notes and then present to, the human that's in the loop what it's found, and definitely it's confidence in that for them to get a jump start.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
I got a buzzword. I'm sorry. So
go for it.
The emerging buzzword, right, is not software as service, but service as software. And so that's the idea being not just and Rand's explanation with legal and so on is our cases in point, where you can take a subject matter expert, a brain on a stick like me, and facilitate the work they do with with software, with AI. And so in law, it's the contracting and so on, drawing up the contracts and such. But with me, it's doing collecting the information and making initial recommendations and doing initial implementation and so on. So next year at AIM, we'll be talking about service as software.
Wow, this industry, everything's changing so quickly. So thank you for that. Now we're going to get into implementation, and I encourage you to ask questions that if anything comes up specific to the sessions or about the summit coming up or automation specific, let us know. But this first question is, how do you identify good use cases for automation, and where should you be starting? I think this is a great question. Can you kick us off, Rich?
Sure. So a good, mental tool to use, and you can formalize it more, is the impact versus effort matrix. So, and you can put it into 4 general quadrants, right? So those projects which are low easy but have a big impact. Those which are hard but have a big impact. Those which are easy and have minimal impact, and those which are where am I? but have no impact, low impact. And then you look at yourself and you see where the various processes are that could be fixed and so on. So you look first at the quick wins, those which are easy. And actually, what we help folks with is IDP first often. It's halfway there to being able to do good workflow and such, and it's also an enabler for the other ones. But anyway, that's a general framework that you should use, I would recommend. But the kinds of things that you're looking for are repetitive, high volume tasks, those with high error rates, those which are manual and labor intensive, those which require rework because it wasn't done right the first time, those with frequent bottlenecks, and those where maybe multi-systems are required or multiple sources of information are required that have to be knitted together.
Yeah.
No, that's really helpful. And Rand, I'm sure that you have so many good use cases for automation. We'd love to hear some of those from you.
Yeah, I think that's a great framework overall on the value for impact. Another one that we like to see customers use and a lot have is also sometimes, what is the revenue opportunity and the innovation opportunity? Because there's a ton of processes on the back end that are going to be, cut and dried and always the same, and those are definitely useful to automate. But one of the things we see is that there's a lot of opportunity for innovation and improving and actually providing better service to your constituents overall. And so, a lot of folks are starting there as well because they're able to do things they weren't able to do before with these new tools, and they're going to be able to create a more innovative platform for that.
Definitely. Thank you very much. We have Patty here. Process that involves emailing documents for approval. Items get stuck in or lost in someone's email. Great candidate for workflow automation. I agree.
That's the flow. So there's lots of low-hanging fruit. So one purpose of the managing the flow is to expedite, to push things, keep things pushing forward, and manage checklists and manage timelines and so on. So if you don't get a response in a certain amount of time, you ping the person or you do it again or whatever. So absolutely. There's so much, as you look at your processes, there's a time spent on the individual tasks, but there's also those latencies between tasks where it just sits there. And that was a great example where it sits in email.
Yeah, I say very often that, in a lot of cases, the biggest wins for improving processes aren't necessarily the ones that are already in some type of online tool, but it's replacing stuff that's tracked in Excel spreadsheets, that's tracked in email, or that's tracked on Post-it notes.
Another simple, easy win is calendaring and so on. So we're working with clients who have, they call it, what's it called? Consulting sessions or whatever, but it's really where you talk to a person about what they want to do with their life savings and so on. And so many missed calendar events happen, so many missed hits. And so if you have a good calendaring app, you can make sure that you secure. Another one is chat and texting, right? To do the scheduling for you. All right, I'll stop there.
And another element that I think is useful is to also recognize that a lot of these processes don't always involve people that are only internal to your organization. So a lot of times you're working with outside partners, customers, vendors, where you're trying to get information from them and share information to them, and they're a critical part of it. So being able to work across those organizational boundaries is really important as well. I mean, even just, in a lot of cases, so many of these processes kick off by someone outside submitting in a lot of documents or applications or those kinds of things, and making that easy to accept that and then get that into some type of format that your internal team can work on is hugely beneficial.
Definitely. And Patty shared an example, like sensitive items such as contracts, if someone needs a notification before it expires.
Yeah, exactly. An interesting one that we're finding now, especially with AI, is that in the past, we're all, information management professionals, and so we're familiar with the concept of metadata. And in the past, metadata has been, mostly defined as a small set of information we want to track on individual documents that then has to be pulled out manually. Two things that are happening with AI is that, one, it's radically reducing the cost of extracting metadata from documents, so you can do it on a much broader scale. And then also, really interestingly, you can often ask an AI, what is the most important information about this document? So it can go beyond just a predefined list of metadata values to pull out and start to give you more interesting information, which is really powerful on a lot of this unstructured data that we kind of kicked off the conversation with.
Definitely. And there's so many things that it's how to start now. So I think all this is great advice. And it's the next big question is, well, there's so many solutions out there. How do you select the appropriate automation solution? Any advice there?
Rich, I'm going to let you start on that one.
Some of the dimensions that I talked about, of course, and then there are some easy indicators. So if you're looking at if you're looking at task automation, right? So it's the individual repetitive pieces of work and you want to fix them, then it's something like RPA. If you have document heavy workflows, or if it doesn't document heavy workflows, you're looking at IDP. If you have complex or dynamic workflows, then you're looking for AI powered, AI driven capabilities. That's a good starter.
Yeah. I think that there's an ever expanding set of tools out there, and we keep adding new market definitions. These these acronyms like IDP and RPA and all those, and those are changing quite a bit right now. My suggestion would be, look for systems that your users are using broadly and can integrate with all the other tools as well, because we have a very diverse IT stacks these days. And so, something that's an island unto itself isn't going to be very useful. But if you have a system that your users are using every day anyways, and it can tie into your most important business systems here, that's going to really help the adoption of those tools.
No, that makes sense. So you don't want to have to abandon a tool that you're using because it doesn't have the capabilities of doing what you're looking to do in the future. So good advice.
Hey,
anything you wanted to add? Go ahead.
Can I jump in? So I had this conversation online with Dan Lucarini, who I see is in here. He's from Deep Analysis. And what we're seeing, the challenge we have, right, we all have, is that the advances in technology, particularly in AI engines and so on, are going so fast that you don't know, you don't want to be a laggard. On the other hand, you don't want to get something that's going to be out of date and unsupportive next month. So what's the best strategy to do it? So this is a basic approach, right? Is that you start with a Lego platform. And so make sure that whatever your platform for, if you're doing significant workflow, it's stable. And that's going to be your Lego base plate or whatever. I'm not a nerd. Then it's able to plug into the dynamic pieces as they emerge, whether it's different AI engines or different types of RPA or other types of orchestration pieces or whatever. That's the best general approach. And then you go to your solution providers and you try to determine where they play in that. Are they the platform provider into which you can put in the various kinds of AI engines, or are they the Lego pieces that go on to something bigger? But that's generally the case. I'm going to pursue this just a little bit and use a different metaphor, and that's think of a car. And so the various AI engines and so on are the engine, and that's great, but you need a car around them. And the challenge in the industry has been there are the car manufacturers who do a great body and transmission and so on, but they have an older, diesel or gas-powered engine. And then you have the new electric motors, but they don't have good cars around them, or at least it's an effort and difficult to make a good car that can really handle an electric engine. And so what you're looking for is the engine, but also the car around it. And also, let me just kick this dead horse one more time, pursue the metaphor, and the ecosystem. You need a factory that's going to be, you need the factory that's around, that's been around, that has enough for R&D. You need the mechanics who can serve it and so on. So beware, so that's kind of, you're hitting multiple constraints that will give you a good solution. But that's the best approach for dealing with the stability, but also the dynamic approach that you need. I'll stop there.
No, thank you. That was a really good way to think about it. Thank you for that. As Dan Lucarini says, what Rich said. So now we're going to move into value and strategy. How do you measure the effectiveness or value of investing in workflow process automation? Do either of you want to start with this question? How to measure?
Well, I can do it. So, okay, so there are three groups that you're trying to satisfy, make happy. And one is IT. And so you're looking at the usual total cost of ownership and speed of development and low code, no code, and so on. That's good. Then you kind of have operations who have to put the workflow to work. And for them, they're often looking at reducing cycle time and throughput and so on. And then you have their customers who are the lines of business or the shared services like HR and so on. And those folks are looking at the kind of metrics that they're looking at is, yeah, it might be cycle time and so on, but it's also particular ones for their business. So in banking, you're talking about loans and the loan rate and the batting average that you get or abandonment rate. With insurance, it's different ones and so on. And so pay attention to those three kinds of satisfying those three groups and which ones you need to satisfy. Now, having said all that, the kind of the KPIs that raise all boats are like processing time reduction, so reducing cycle time. If you can reduce cycle time with quality, then you're a winner. Error rate reduction, and by error rate reduction, you're not only improving quality, but you can get rid of or reduce or eliminate the other steps and other processes that have to detect and correct the errors. Cost savings, of course, labor rate, reducing manual labor. Compliance improvement, you can that's reputation, but it's also dollar amount. That is dollars spent in doing the discovery and messing around with that, but also fines and such. And then the squishy one, user adoption and satisfaction, whichever metrics you use. And that feeds, upsell and so on, some other ones which are a little more difficult to calculate.
It's really helpful. How about you, Rand? Anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, so again, I'm going to definitely agree with Rich on all those, and add on, some interesting things that we've seen where a lot of the benefit is in increasing business overall. So at the breakout session that we're doing, I'm going to talk about one of our customers, and I've mentioned this before, but someone who's doing basically loan processing, and because they implemented a set of AI tools, they tied it into their workflow systems and everything. They were able to improve things along the metrics that Rich talked about, but at the end of the day, that resulted in significantly higher revenues because their team were able to, their frontline customer team were able to process more loans. They were able to have higher accuracy and give their customers better service.
Well, those three things are all very important. So thank you. That's good to measure. Now we're going to switch gears and go specific to the summit and talk about the sessions that this pathway and we have a lot of overlap since AI and automation especially overlap with each other. We're going to talk about some automation pathway sessions, but also some AI sessions. So Rich, what are some of the ways this pathway could help solve the challenges organizations may face? I'll share my screen just to give highlights of some of those sessions that are coming up. Do that.
So these are some of the ones that caught my eye, and I might not be in the same order that these are. That's my fault. But the digitization one, that's Peter Spice of Boys Hope, Girls Hope, and that talks about how to get documents AI ready for automation. So best practices for doing that. Accelerating IDP implementation with Gen AI. There's, as you may know, well, maybe not. OCR and such, and Dan knows this, was pretty much steady state, pretty much linear, going up, improving through the 90s and so on, and through the aughts. And then 2017, it got a big jump with new engines, new methodologies, better improvements in handwriting and so on. And then we thought it would kind of incrementally improve and so on. And then it got another big jump, a huge jump in 2022, 2023 with LLMs, Gen AI, other capabilities and so on. And, definitely worth looking at to look at how to use Gen AI for IDP and how it can help you. And then how the big challenge, right, is to reduce what are called false positives. That it's, so pardon me, it's a big, it's overconfident in, it's a BSer. And you've got to, if you've got high precision requirements, you've got to have methods to deal with the errors that come out of it. So that'll be a really interesting session. I'm taking too long, I apologize. 3, collecting. I don't have much on that. That's my fault. The workshop, that's really interesting. Did I have anything on that? Others are, there's one that's part of, is I don't think it's artificial intelligence versus robotic process automation. And that's, I talked about the RPA, which is task automation, versus IDP versus, the flow. So that's very interesting. And how IDP feeds into robots.
Yeah, we put that one under the AI pathway. Yeah. So lots of overlap. So that session looks like a nice one too to go to.
And speaking, another one is Petra Beck's from InfoSource, Bridging Strategy and Execution. And that's how to build an enterprise-wide AI automation strategy. So we've been talking a lot about technology, but you need a roadmap, you need a program to roll this stuff out in a sane manner. And then from manual to automated, revolutionized records management at Harvest Midstream. We haven't talked a lot about this, but a big lift that workflow provides with AI is in information lifecycle management and information governance. And so that's really interesting. The defensive side as well as the offensive side, which we've been talking about. Let's see here. Another one is scaling workflow automation across departments. Another one, I'm sorry, that's maybe one of them. Another one is, well, I'll stop there. So,
yeah, there's
Amy, Rand?
Yeah. No, this is really helpful, and it gives a overview, and I know that the recording to go over those sessions again will be helpful. So thank you for that overview. It's really helpful. And Rand, I think it would be great if you could give an overview of your breakout and workshop that you'll be presenting at the event.
Yeah, for sure. And also I wanted to reiterate what you said, Amy, in that there's a lot of overlap, I think, between this this pathway and the AI one. And so definitely, jump around where you can, because I think you're going to find some useful information everywhere. So we've got a couple of sessions that we're really excited about. I'm doing one on Tuesday, a breakout on accelerating process in the age of content and AI. And we'll go into a lot more depth on some of these examples that we're seeing, some of the things that we're expecting to come down the pipe. We're fortunate, kind of the relationships we have with a lot of these leading AI vendors to see a lot of what they're doing. And, we've already integrated with pretty much every major vendor out there. And so we're finding a lot of really useful information that we can share with folks at the breakout. But the one that I'm actually even more excited about is the workshop that's happening on Monday. This is a couple of our team that work really closely with customers, and walking through, how customers today are leveraging a lot of technologies, not just Box, but a whole bunch of different tools to really take advantage of the early days that we're at here. So that one I highly recommend. We've got William and Leslie doing that one. So really excited about those and hope to see you at both.
Thank you very much, Rand. Are there any sessions that you're most excited about, Rand or Rich, that you haven't talked about or that you mentioned that you want to highlight again? And then anybody that is participating that wants to share a session that you saw that you're excited about, please share. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, so one is Ron Rinner's from IBML, his accelerating IDP implementation with Gen AI. And go in there with a, it's dangerous man. Try to understand the dangerous magic that it can do, where it's good and where it's not so good, and where it's not so good because it generates false positives and so on, how you can ameliorate them by what kind of things that you can do to solve those problems. The second one is is Petra Beck's bridging, where she talks about roadmaps, building a strategy for AI-based automation enterprise-wide. That's absolutely critical. And we know if you're older than 20, you lived through the RPA days, and we call it day one, day two. So day one, just an explosion of RPAs, robots. Day two, oh my gosh, we got an explosion of RPAs. And so a lot of lessons were learned on how to do proper governance with rollout and so on. So you don't get stuck with thousands of, robots or AI-powered engines in workflow that then you have to manage. So those are the two that I really like.
And Rand, yeah, you went over yours. We're excited to hear those at the event. I wish there was time to go to all the sessions, but I'm just going to pop over here. If you are still doing a lot of planning for the event, we're going to be launching the mobile app as soon as early next week. So take a look at that. The agenda's in there. You can also go to our website, and we have these broken out by days. So you can click on the days and go through and see what we have in store for you. But also we've broken out the sessions in the pathway section. So you can look and see what sessions are in each pathway. As an attendee, you can go to a pathway session, breakout session in AI for the first one, and then you can move to automation. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to stick with one pathway. So I just wanted to just point that out to you. So now I'd like to just talk a little bit more about the summit. And what advice do you have about getting the most out of your AI+IM Global Summit? Rich?
I have a pretty good understanding going in as to what you want to accomplish. A lot of this is, Ma, the American flag and apple pie stuff, but it really works. And then we've talked about the sessions. If you're doing this pathway for workflow, target the ones that you want to go to, talk to the presenters afterwards, understand which are the workflow vendors that you want to visit, and talk to them and set up meetings for when you get back. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Rand?
Yeah, I agree. Actually, feel free to talk to the panelists afterwards. But also, go and talk to the sponsors at the exhibit floor. They're sending their best people. AIM is, I call it like small but mighty. It's one of the most high level conferences with people that are really focused in this space, and so you get a lot of information there. And then, of course, take advantage of. I like the new structure with the pathways and the groups and all of the sort of birds of a feather sessions that we're going to have. So I think that'll be really useful for people to cross-pollinate.
definitely.
Amy, you probably, if
Yeah.
you're in the same room, you'd be kicking me under the table. Also, we have, I'm being a docent or tour guide. So if you're interested in workflow, Amy will give you information. We'll come as a tour and we'll visit the various booths and I'll tell you about them and so on. So I'll facilitate your experience, Amy.
Yes, he's going to be playing tour guide at the event during breakfast on Tuesday. So from 8 to 9, definitely join us in the Hall of Solutions where Rich will be taking you from sponsor to sponsor and sharing exactly what they each do quickly and go around the room for you. So that should really help you define who does what in the room and steer you in the right direction. So just a couple advice tidbits I have is definitely get into the mobile app early and you can bookmark your session. So that will definitely help. Take a look at all the descriptions, figure out your schedule, and come with what business questions and issues that you're trying to solve in advance, because this is your time to get those questions answered and ask for advice. What you put into the event is what you'll get out of it. So definitely come ready to work. So that's definitely my suggestion. Like Rand said, we definitely recommend talk to the exhibitors. They are experts in this space and can really point you in the right place and not just try to sell to you. So definitely take advantage of that. Yeah, and we're going to be doing, we have John Daly on here. He's going to be doing a morning run or walk in the morning. If you're into that and you can get up early, definitely join John. That would be a fun way to kick off the event. So as we get closer, let me see. So how can people, so my last question here is how can people learn more about the AI+IM Global Summit and register for the event? So not everybody here is registered, as we talked about. So after this call, I'll be sending emails out to invite you to join us for this event. And like we said, if you can't attend this year, definitely consider it for next year. So with that said, I know we just have a couple minutes here. Any last minute thoughts or things you want to share before I go into our end slides? Rich, Brand?
Yeah, I'll say.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, Rich. No, definitely like take advantage of it. I think it's a great event. AIM, I think is unique in that they are purely there to help the attendees, really improve what they're doing, in their day-to-day overall. It's always a fun event. Great food, really well produced and everything. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope that all of you really get a lot out of it, enjoy it.
And I have just one. 2025 is a really interesting time because we now have the convergence of the next gen new technologies and the ones that have been around for a while, the information management technologies and so on. And AIM is the one event where you get both of those together. So it's not legacy and it's not the 19-year-olds, but you've got them together and you can do the Lego thing, fitting in the new technologies into your stable platform. So I'm really looking forward to this year.
Yeah, us too. And John Daly made a great point here is take advantage of making friends and network with the fellow attendees there. The cohorts are going to be divided by industry, so you're going to make friends right in your industry. We're really excited about that addition at the event. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, and thanks Rich and Rand for your time. This conversation was a great preview of the workflow and process automation pathway. There's only 60 seats left, so if you are wanting to attend, please do register as soon as possible because we do have limited space this year. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you again for being here. We'll get these slides over to you, and if you have any questions, you can always email AIM at hello@aim.org. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.